Being after 7, having a quorum, we'll open up the hearing, the meeting for February 1st. First item, approve the minutes of January 18th. I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second for any discussion?
Second.
All right, everybody all set?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained. Let's do, let's see. Boom, 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 boom. We got the, what do you got there? Yeah, what do they want for street name?
Painter's Way.
All right, I'll have an issue. Anybody want to make a motion for that?
So moved.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second?
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay,
There was one letter that we received from the sewer and water after we closed. I don't know if you just want me to throw it in the file.
what's that for?
It was about Pine Acres, and it was, the board wants the actual connection to be made on Laurel Lane for the completion of the loop.
We'll have to discuss that.
Well,
There's plenty of time.
right. But our decision was made and we got it.
You can just tell them, if you tell them that?
I didn't know what you wanted to do with it, so I didn't know if you wanted to.
Well, you can just say the decision. I mean, you can't do anything about it. Okay, so we'll jump.
Atlantic Court?
Atlantic Court, oh, extension. Okay, from Atlantic Court, we have a request to extension till June 30th, 2018 on the remaining items. Larry Stern, I'll make a motion to grant that extension up through June 30th, 2018.
Second.
Do we have a second? Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Right. Kate, since I'm gonna be a nice guy, could you send something to him when you do that and say, look, if you wanna get on the fall town meeting, the spring's done, is if he can get it done before that time, that'll give him time to get on the warrant.
For example, okay.
Yeah, if he's only going the 18th, it should allow him to do that, so.
Okay.
All right. Okay, now, next thing is the articles, okay. We had what, we had some that went in.
3 went to Ilana, the 3, 2 that you voted, and the one that was the daycare.
Okay, and the ones we voted weren't issues that I think, right, that I saw? We didn't have to
I think
change
she
anything?
made some changes in the language.
She did?
Yep. On
I
Article
guess we
33.
start on the warrant at Article 33. This is the first time we're seeing these. They just came in.
For comments.
Her comments. And this? Oh, okay. So 33.
33, 34, 35,
What did she do to it?
36, 37.
She just changed the language about the renumbering
Oh, okay.
to make it a little more clear.
There.
Yeah, that's right. This, I assume, was red. That's why, that's what happens when you print out from red. Okay, so the first one, what was 33? What was that on ours?
Explanatory notes on Section 6B, the schedule, from 1 through 16.
Okay, yeah, that's right. We'd done that. I know we got discussion.
So I guess what I need to know is we going with with it.
I didn't see anything wrong. I mean, Joe, you had done this. Did you see anything?
Well, I just got it, but it does, tonight is the first time I'm looking at her, but it doesn't look like, she just changed some language. I think it's probably to make it legal. So I would go with her language.
Yeah, because typically they're only supposed to do that, not change what we want to do, so, yeah.
Right, not the intent of the article, but the legality of it.
You ever give anything to a lawyer and they say, oh, that's great?
Never.
How can I bill?
It's like a traffic study. Have you ever seen a traffic study that said, no, we can't build this?
What?
Question?
Yep.
So I looked again at the stuff. So number 2 on the explanatory notes,
Yep.
I didn't see that referenced anywhere. Am I missing it, or, so if it's not there, so note 2 says, see applicable provisions in section 6C. So while we're fixing it. I know maybe it's a different, maybe we can't include that because article is supposed to just renumber it, but
The space, take the space.
Oh, this is beyond what's in there.
it says beyond, so we can't discuss anything.
No,
Okay.
if we can put it within this, you can do that, yeah.
But probably you can't, right, because it's beyond the scope, like
No,
to
no.
delete a note?
No, we're here to format how we want it. We haven't
Okay.
voted the final language. We got it from Alana, gave us the legal end of it. Now, this will be us, you know, if we want to add that, we can. This is not cut in stone yet. We're going to make it stone after tonight.
Okay, so that's my question. I didn't see, like, note 2 referenced anywhere, so I'm just wondering if we need it.
All the others fit in.
Yeah, that one that
I didn't
I
s-
asked before about the, like, that looks like inches, and he said it's always been interpreted as number 11. I don't see how it makes sense that, so that it's the required lot area in limited manufacturing and industrial, and number 11 says does not apply to one-story building of accessory use. Doesn't seem like that note fits with that square footage.
Can you say that again, Sarah? Where are you? I'm
So
just
if
trying
you
to
look at
catch
the
up.
table 6B1,
That's why I'm on 5B.
okay, yeah. So
22.
6B1, this is the table that we're fixing the numbering of the notes.
Here in section 6.
Go.
Page 42. So do you see it, Joe? Like on the first
At
column,
least I have my book.
the required lot area.
Head.
The building inspector last time said that, you know, inch mark, or quotation, whatever you want to call it, has always been interpreted as note 11. But that doesn't seem to make sense.
Limited manufacturing, 40,000 square feet. Does not apply to one-story building of accessory.
So
use.
elsewhere, that 11 is used for like, you know, setback,
Industrial.
setback.
Right.
Like if you put a shed or whatever, you don't have to abide by the,
Yep.
you know, building setback, you can go closer. So, I don't know, it just seems to be sloppy
So
or something,
apparently
so
they're saying that it
I just
doesn't
wanted to
apply,
clean it up.
the 40,000 or the 200 feet frontage and the 40,000 lot area square feet doesn't apply.
Yeah,
It's a
the 200
one-story.
referencing number 11, that makes sense. But the 40,000 square feet
Oh.
referencing note 11
Yep,
just
yep.
doesn't seem to make sense to me.
I don't, okay, now I see it. That's not, to me, that's a quote. On the 40,000.
Okay.
Yeah, I
It's
agree.
not
Why-
the same
why a
print as
quote?
as the
No.
ones next to it.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, it shouldn't be there. You don't put it there. That's the minimum lot size.
It's a,
Yeah.
it's
It's
not
not,
a.
it's not
yeah,
11,
one.
it's a quote, I agree with you.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
we should
but
take
why
that.
is there one half of a quote that doesn't mean anything?
Doesn't mean anything.
No, because it's probably a misprint, so.
Yeah, so
we
I
should-
mean, when I mentioned it last time, the building inspectors, oh, well, we usually interpret that as note 11,
But it doesn't,
but that doesn't make
Doesn't-
sense,
but
so.
Doesn't
not-
make sense at
It's not an
all.
11.
yeah, we should, yeah, it's
So
not
anyway,
11.
if it fits within the article,
Yeah, we'll take
we
it
should
out.
just delete it, I think.
Yeah, can we add-
Unless,
Do we have to say delete the quote, the half quote?
Yeah.
delete the half quote.
Or the 2 commas, or the whatever you call them, yeah, we can say that.
Can you get back to her on that, to have her insert some language in there to delete that half quote?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And then the number 2,
Is that
unless somehow
anywhere
I'm,
else, Sarah? Did you see it anywhere
No,
else?
just those 2,
Okay.
the 2 bottom, the limited manufacturing and industrial.
What was the other one?
So note number 2,
Yep.
I don't see it referenced in the table. So why keep it?
Why?
Yeah.
Because we just make people hunt.
Oh, okay. It's like it's a
It's a
it's a fun activity.
You know, if we left it, if we tried to change this later, we would be on the scope of the article then, because we were only changing from 3 down.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if we can,
Why don't
maybe
we-
it's outside of the whatever,
I don't know if
but,
it's outside, but why don't we just leave it that way in case we do miss something? But I know what you're saying is, what I think has happened is this.
it probably
one-
used to be
Yeah,
referenced.
one of them changed and they didn't, and we had that wonderful zoning rewrite by Horsley Witten. Choo, choo, choo. Things went flying, so, yeah, why don't we just, I agree.
Because
with-
then if you take it out, then all the numbers are gonna be off
Yeah.
All
again,
the
and
other
so we
numbers
gotta
will
make
change.
sure
Yeah.
that they're all
So you wanna
correct, so-
reserve it for future use?
No, just leave it that way, just in case something ever come up. It's
Leave
not
it.
hurting anything, just leave note 2 there, and then
Okay,
if we
that's
find
fine,
something.
but
yeah,
maybe when we
we'll do another one.
revisit this, we can.
Yes, no, I agree with that, but this one, delete, definitely get rid of the quotes. That's not a half a quote, okay?
So, you wanna leave the see applicable provisions too?
Just leave it there, don't touch it.
Leave it, don't touch
Yeah.
it,
It's
The
not,
only thing what Sarah wants to do is take out those quotes, which I think it's fine.
yeah.
Anything else on that article?
no,
Okay,
that's it.
make a motion to, move forward with that article,
Second?
discussion, all's in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, okay. The next one is,
34, which was
Oh, this one's
our Article 3.
yep. We didn't have any issues with this, right, last time?
No, I don't think so. Everybody,
Yeah.
I think we sent that on.
Yeah, that's one, Kate, was that one of the ones we voted?
Yes. the
Okay, so
AQB.
that's done, yeah, we don't have to deal with that one.
Well, did she change anything?
She just cleaned it up a little, I think, with wording.
Yeah, like the instead of the.
Formatted it.
Instead of a. So, yeah. Okay.
So you wanna go with her language?
Yeah. Well, if you don't, what'll happen is a town meeting. So, yeah, well, she only just reformatted, make it look better, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll make a motion for, it's, I guess we're gonna call it Article 35, I mean,
34.
34, yeah, as so changed by town council. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, section, Article 35.
Okay, this is our remand back,
Yep.
and remember, I think what happened was the numbers that got put into the article that Alana looked at were not the numbers that were agreed upon by Dave Norton. Remember, we
Yep.
changed this? So, I think we gotta tell her that, her numbers are incorrect.
Do we have a copy of the one, you handed those out last time, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that, I don't, did you have one?
No.
You got enough?
Yeah, you want more? So on all of the changes that, the significant changes.
Yeah, we discussed this one, Joe, I remember, with you and David then.
Thanks.
Yep. Put the thing up now so I don't have to look at you, Rob. No, you, put it up now so I can't see you.
The minutes did reflect these changes.
Yes.
correct?
Yes,
And what Dave did is brought it back to what's in sections, up in section 5 of GR anyway.
Mhm.
And I understood the 30 feet is 15 setback, and the 10,000 square feet equals what it is for this, if you're doing an individual unit, so didn't see anything in here that was an issue.
So this one will be sent to Ilona?
Yeah,
Right.
if it hasn't gone, yeah, this is the one,
Yeah.
so, anybody have any other comments, or anybody all set?
Well, I'm not really in favor of this article.
Well, that's, but we can vote.
Okay,
But
so,
I-
yeah.
I'll make a motion to put this on the warrant. Do I have a second? Discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. And what else do we have?
The part about,
What one are we on next?
Article 36, Article 5.
Article, oh.
Of the school, daycare.
Oh, yeah, did we ever get anything back from anybody on that?
Ilana didn't review it, she just sent it back with no changes, so I don't know what that means.
The question was, did
Yeah. Yeah.
the Dover amendment include profit?
No, I understand.
And I had runoff legal opinions this afternoon that said it was a not-for-profit. It applied only to not-for-profit. And I was bringing it in, but for some reason, I don't see it in
Well,
my package.
If she didn't have any issues with it, must mean you can do it. Because she certainly would have struck it, that would have,
I don't know, but we asked for a placeholder, right?
the other's a placeholder now.
So she may not have,
No, we sent her, she doesn't know what's a placeholder, what wasn't. They just got sent to her to
No,
look
she
at.
knew it was a placeholder.
Oh, but
Do
she,
we have to have these firm tonight?
Yes,
Yes.
we should.
So we can't ask her why she didn't.
no, why don't we do that? Because we got a placeholder,
I
it's
got
already
it.
in the motion.
Her changes were strictly,
I know, that's what doesn't make sense. I don't need a spelling on that, I need legal.
right. So
Yeah,
that
that's
the
what
only
I was
changes
looking for.
She made, like,
Before anybody wanna just send it to her, ask her legal? We can,
send it back in.
yeah,
with
we
it.
can get that back to them. I mean, they're not doing anything with it.
You could do that in a phone call. I mean, she didn't make any changes, it must be okay.
Ask her why she didn't, and if Joe.
Okay, then we can do this,
Question about the Dover Act.
Joe.
Zero.
Mhm.
Why don't we make a motion to put it on, but verify with town council that this is legal, and if it isn't, we won't.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
yeah, I mean, I think town meeting needs that determination, so.
Because I gave Kate two of the opinions to forward to her about the legality of profit versus not profit.
Okay, we'll do that.
So she must have
Ma-
seen that.
The motion will be to place this on the warrant, but prior to, we will find out from Alana if it is in fact legal. If it's legal, it stays. If it's illegal, we'll just pull it off. At least we've got it off, and this could happen over the next couple of days, because, things in here ain't gonna move very quick next couple of days.
So if she makes the determination of the legality, is she gonna comment like, I don't know how to say it, like snob zoning or some kind of preventative zoning, like if the Attorney General sees a town doing something like that, don't they sometimes stop?
But,
Like if you're if your town,
Well, they could
hypothetically.
deny- They could deny approval, correct?
yeah, typically, most of the Attorney Generals is based upon, did you post it in time? Was it read in time to go outside the scope as opposed to what you wanna do?
They don't comment on that.
On this, if you go way out of bounds, they will. But if we have it from Alana first, we'll know we're at least in bounds, that's all.
Yeah. Well, there was something.
Go to second for that.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, okay. Just if you can get that to her next week, Kate, let us know.
Sarah, I think it would have to be, and I'm no expert on it, but I think it would have to be blatant, like you were really harming some portion of the community or keeping someone out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I just have this idea that if the Attorney General sees a town, maybe there's a project in the pipelines, and then, oh, there's a new zoning law,
No, they don't
and
get
then.
that, they won't get that
They
deep.
won't get that involved.
No, oh, they only do it if it's against the state law, they won't get in if someone specifically is going for, because they have no idea on that, they won't go after if you're trying to snob zone, what you said.
Unless
couldn't-
somebody challenges it.
Right.
We
They
actually
call-
aren't
they could call
challenging.
hardship or something
We
like that.
actually aren't
Yeah.
changing the location, we're just further defining profits,
Yep.
for-profit school.
Yeah, becoming more, like, broadening it, kind of, a little bit.
Okay, so we get that one, now what's the next one?
The last one is signs, Dave Norton's. Signage, that was a placeholder,
He was gonna get back with us,
to us, for, right? He did, yeah.
He
I have
said he
nothing.
was gonna, okay.
He did not.
He did, he didn't?
Got nothing.
You got nothing? Okay, then I guess we can't do anything.
He's not submitting one? He's-
Haven't received anything, I don't know.
Well, if he needs it that bad, he can talk to Jim, and if it comes up next time, we can do it. I mean, we're only,
So what, I'm just not gonna do anything.
yeah, because we can't be, I mean, we're being held to gun ourselves, so if Dave can
I mean,
convince
he
them.
gave us this that was in your packet.
Yeah, that really doesn't, I saw the tape of the meeting that he had problems with that, and it was basically a hotel that wanted 3 signs as opposed to 2. It's nothing like what he's saying in here.
No.
So I wanted further clarification as to what he was doing.
But I think right now you gotta go to the ZBA for signs anyway.
Right.
Yeah, so it's just saying what you already gotta do.
Yeah, I didn't see how
I
we,
thought he was looking for a specific, process, he was going to write up a process to
Yeah,
go through.
yeah, he wanted to go away, he didn't go through variance or special permit, that's what's talked about, this doesn't say that, though. Can I look at my book?
Your book?
Well. Oh, wait a minute. I gotta
Good thing
take-
I'm sitting here.
I gotta take the cellophane off.
At least I brought my book.
Yeah, I don't know what the coordination, because you have, if you do it here, if you don't, you go in front of the zoning, it didn't seem to add anything. I don't wanna, because he was talking about something to do with a special permit as opposed to variance.
I think we
Right.
definitely need his input on that.
Yeah, yeah, why don't we, I don't wanna,
that might be something that he wants to put in on the talk about for the fall.
Nope.
I think now it's,
You wanna make a
There's
motion?
no rush, it's been that way for this one. That's
I don't
all
need a
I've
motion, we'll
done,
just,
so.
yeah,
Just hold it?
yeah,
Or delete it?
that's all of them, correct?
Those are my books.
so we're gonna do that for fall.
Yeah, yeah, because he talked about the need for, if they could do a variance instead of special, I mean, parent, special permit instead of variance, so, okay.
Okay.
Great. He wants the agenda. Hold you. Kidding. All right, so everything's done there. Oh, thank you.
You're looking at the old one.
This is the new one?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, you took this. All right, what's that first one? 725. Oh, right there. Okay, that will be after 725. We have a preliminary hearing for 2-lot subdivision on 173 Pemberton. Given the preliminary is not a public hearing, but it's more of a discussion. And that's why no one would have been notified, so with that being said, whoever's representing the clients, go for it, Mr. Truax, Rob.
For the record, Rob Truax of GLM Engineering Consulting. Sorry.
Whoa, whoa. I can, that's the, we'll play hockey.
So this is a property located at 173 Pemberton Street, right across from Capitol Road. And if you look up on the board, the property as it currently exists, there's an existing single-family house, which is shown on Assessors Map 17 as parcel 277 with just over 28,000 square feet. And then there's a second parcel that's shown as parcel 278 with just over 30,000 square feet. The owners of this property bought this back in 1981. They've owned it since then with the intentions that they would eventually someday sell the second lot and use that as part of their retirement, blah, blah, blah. So unfortunately, since that time, the zoning now today is 20,000 square feet with 125 feet of frontage for that area, which changed since the time they bought it. At that time, it was only 100 feet of frontage was required with, I don't know the exact square footage. So they took this property as they have it. They're taxed today as a buildable lot in an existing home. So they went before the ZBA, I don't know, a few months back, and they were denied a variance for the second lot, even though they've been paying taxes on it for X number of years. John Walsh got involved. knows the owners, and made a suggestion that maybe we can subdivide it into a road and still get the 2 lots and come to this board and request some relief for the construction of the roadway. So we've submitted to you a preliminary plan which shows a roadway going into the right of the house, which is right across from Capitol Road. It's approximately 150 feet in length from the edge of the right-of-way to the end of the bubble, and we show a proposed single-family house. We also, so what we're proposing, as you see on the board, is a 12-foot wide driveway going in to provide access to the single-family house. We've listed a bunch of waivers that would allow that to be constructed in that manner. We also submitted to you what a no-waiver plan would look like, which shows it with a full cul-de-sac, 26 feet of pavement, sidewalk on both sides with granite curbing, to show that we could build it with no waivers for the project. We understand what's been going on the other project that's similar to this, that's in front of you right now. It's on Baker Street. I understand it's a 2-lot subdivision as well, similar to this. I'm not sure the length of their roadway. I know at this time they've been asked to put a hammerhead turnaround in for the fire trucks to turn around. I did meet last Friday. Joe Maraski was with me with the deputy fire chief to discuss another project. While we were there, he was kind enough to make us a copy of the regulations that he keeps quoting about access, turnarounds, et cetera, widths of road. So I did get a copy of that. I believe Joe was handed a copy. And in there it states, any access road over 150 feet long shall provide a turnaround for fire apparatus. So we would propose to reduce this to 149 feet to the end of the cul-de-sac, so we wouldn't be required to put a turnaround under that regulation. So then I spun off the question and I said, what if I do that? Would that mean I would not be required to put a turnaround? He said, well, I'd probably request one anyway. So we're not in favor of that. We've seen the plan with the hammerhead, and personally, we're not in favor of a hammerhead. John can speak more on it. I understand the 20-foot access, and I've read up on that a little bit, and it doesn't necessarily say paved. It just has to be stable for a fire truck to be able to drive on it and be cleared during the winter months so that they can get into the site. I do know that when he reviewed the last one, there was no house shown on the plan. It was just showing a cul-de-sac. They didn't show a proposed house, so he had nothing to actually look at to say, well, where's the house? How far away is it? So another thing, you know, we just want to flush all this out now in the preliminary plan and see what the flavor of the board is. The other thing that we're looking at, and I know, Mr. Chairman, you'll bring this up, so we're going to bring it up first.
I like that, Mr.
So, the existing house has frontage on both the proposed road, legal, and Pemberton, legal frontage. And in the bylaw, it allows you to call one or the other your frontage, and you can use the other as side yard. So we're proposing to have the side yard on the new street, so we can reduce that down to 20 feet instead of the setback of 30. So we did ask Rackerman and Sawyer for an opinion on that,
My favorite.
which I'll give to you.
Johanna?
And we're gonna ask you to get an opinion on it, just to make sure it's not an issue.
Well, we won't get opinion yet. Probably it's only preliminary, Rob.
Thank you.
December 4th, and we're just getting it now?
It's my
We
birthday.
weren't sure if we were gonna need it, because we had it laid out differently at one point.
It's my birthday.
I think with that, that's where we stand today, so we're really looking for some guidance before we go into a definitive plan, obviously, before we spend the money to go that route. Number one, we're looking for guidance on the width of the road, what would be required for a turnaround if one was to be required. And we would like to know that we're calling that side yard, that the board's okay with that. We can ask the building inspector as well for his opinion. So we are looking for some guidance before we go to that level. So I guess that's what we're looking for. This is a discussion, so. I don't expect you to digest all that, Jack, in 20 minutes.
And where'd you come up with 12 feet? Is it just,
Just a driveway. because that's a typical driveway is anywhere from 10 to 12 feet for a single-family house. So we just proposed 12. I mean, really, you can call it a roadway, but when you're, at the end of the day, it is providing access to one home. In reality, if the house catches on fire, there's an emergency, they're gonna drive up there and they're gonna put the fire out and they're gonna back out to Pemberton. Most likely Pemberton's gonna be shut down during that event, whether we put a turnaround or not. If I put a turnaround with a hammerhead, it may or may not even be used during that event. I don't know, they may back out anyway. The driveway would be approximately to the house, just over 150, probably about 180. The house sets back from the cul-de-sac about 30 feet. We would put a turnaround for the house, obviously. You know, we put a turnout at the house so the cars can turn around, so they don't have to back out to Pemberton. We did see that plan, and honestly, if we had to build a hammerhead, something to that effect, I mean, I spoke with John about it, we'd be more apt to just build a regular cul-de-sac with curbing and just have it be an accepted road, rather than go that. It's very unsightly, to be honest. We didn't like the design of it. It would look a lot better to just do the plan on the floor, maybe waive the sidewalk, because no one's really gonna walk up there, and then just let it be a public roadway. It would make, from our standpoint, I mean, ideally, we're providing access to one house. We'd like to make it a 12-foot driveway. And we would not be opposed to putting some crushed stone on either side for drainage, as well as a vehicle to drive on it, widen it out, maybe even put, like, there's some, you can buy these grid systems that go under the grass, you grow grass through them, and you can drive trucks over them. We wouldn't be opposed to that. We just don't wanna see, if it's driving up to one house, we don't wanna see this big paved road with a big turnaround up there just to provide access to one house. I did see the Baker Street, the one that's before you now, and that was just our feeling. John's seen it, and our feeling was it really wasn't an attractive looking roadway to go into a single family house. So, with that.
Okay.
Can I ask a
Go ahead.
question?
Yep.
So can you go through what you said you want to call something, where you're going to get the frontage, and then the frontage is going to be the side yard? Go through that again? What are
Okay,
you saying?
so under your, I have frontage for this house
Yeah.
on both. I have legal frontage on Pemberton. I have
Okay.
legal frontage on the proposed way. And in your zoning bylaw, you can declare one or the other to be front yard or side yard.
On
I
which
wanna
house are you
declare
talking? The proposed house?
The existing house.
The existing,
Not
okay, okay,
Proposed isn't a corner lot. That one has its frontage on the cul-de-sac.
okay,
So we wanna call this portion right here side yard, so we can pull the cul-de-sac closer to the street and make it shorter. If I make it 30, I just gotta push it out a little more, make it longer.
okay.
We're trying to shorten it up, and in doing that, this brings this house forward more, closer to Pemberton, and sits it on a lot nicer.
Okay,
That's what we're trying to gain. I mean, it's in the bylaw that one or the other can be front yard, the other can be side yard.
okay, okay. One of my questions, maybe this is for later, but, did you show the frontage of the new house? Like, is
Yes.
it on?
Yeah, this frontage, it's 180-something feet length. It would be this one that says L, it would be 180. That's just part of it. It actually goes all the way around the cul-de-sac. There is a gap on the other side.
Okay, okay.
I mean, in an ideal world, they would've got a variance and they would've just built on the lot. But I don't think that the zoning board could not find it a hardship because the zoning changed since the time they bought the house and the lot, so
Okay.
they didn't define that as a hardship.
Where was that in the corner lot, do you remember, Rob?
I don't remember where it was, to be honest. I'll have to look it up myself, just like you're doing. I've seen it in there.
Well, reading Rackman Sawyer's little thing they sent to us, say I'm not a big fan after some of the other issues, but all this says is, talks about proposing what you're doing with the road and ask for waivers, doesn't talk about the corner lots at all. Right?
Right.
So we already know this has been done. You agree?
Yes, in some sense, yes. But we were asking him specifically that we were gonna call that side yard.
But he does, all he did was give us a letter, put us to chapter 17.5.2, and all it does is talk about asking the planning board to reduce and, you know, make a driveway, just like you're doing, but it doesn't say anything about a corner lot.
So how do you interpret it? Do you see a problem with what we're proposing?
Side yard, well, the problem being is the way it goes in how many lots in a subdivision? What's the
Two.
minimum?
We're still creating two.
But you're not, because you're gonna, that one's gonna stay where it is. It's really not. It's kinda like Wakefield's on East Street on the corner.
Well, no, it's changing completely. The lot line's completely changing.
But now, its frontage will be on, you haven't created a subdivision.
I have, because it has frontage on both, legal frontage on both. We're just calling side yard one or the other.
I know the issue is you don't have the backyard setback for the side of the house.
It would be front yard.
No, on the left side. If you're on the new street, your backyard is now, doesn't have enough distance between that house and the next lot. You don't have your 30 foot.
That wouldn't be rear yard under your definition. Goes,
Whoa. If that existing house was on that new street, the rear yard would be there.
it's a corner lot. It doesn't work like that. I believe it's in your definitions.
Or was
You
it a
tell me
corner
we
lot?
don't have a backyard for a corner lot?
You do, but it's, yeah, that's side yards.
No, I don't read that, but these guys, this didn't do anything for you, what you're talking about.
Well, then, would you be opposed to asking for council to give you an opinion on this, to make sure it's a two-lot subdivision? Before we go, you know, to the next level?
Well, very simple is not our job, to spend town money to find out what the answer is. You guys, your project, you should have the answer from your attorney that cites this. That's when we send it off. But that would only come during the, definitive phase. You're just not gonna send something in, we send it off to council, we'd be racking up, you know, $100,000 every time someone has an issue they wanna do. It only have to come when you give us the definitive.
If we give you an opinion prior, if we have him elaborate on that prior to submitting
how-
a definitive, you
Then
wouldn't
how does that
have.
fall under anything we do here? It doesn't, it's just from out.
We're gonna give you something to have reviewed.
Yeah, but when a preliminary, we don't do this, because you don't, it's not part of it. You know, we would only do this during the definitive. What you're asking for is us to get an answer, a good answer for you before you put your pen to paper. That's.
Sure.
Yeah, of course.
Why not?
Well, then
Doesn't that make sense? Isn't that why we're here for a preliminary, to flush out the issues?
Yeah, but you can't,
Isn't that what it's all about?
no.
Get it
No,
out of the way
no,
early?
not about legal. Preliminary, actually, preliminary is very simple. We don't even give you an answer. We just go,
No, I don't want you to vote it, but I want your opinions.
but the opinion, we don't give legal opinions on a preliminary.
Okay.
And we don't give legal opinions outside a hearing, because that's the only time you get them.
But I could go to the building inspector and ask him for an opinion. Correct.
Whatever you want, yeah.
Okay. All right, can we go back to the other issues now that that one's off the table? About the turnaround, et
Our money back for this one, but anyway. The turnaround, well, yeah, I mean, one of the things, and you saw it on Baker Street, these things take a life of their own. What you think is good in one day, and next thing you got people opposing and so on, so. But I know what you're trying to do, Rob. And since we're discussing preliminary, and I kinda keep wheeling and talking, I was there the night, it got turned down. To me, sometimes you're in the zoning board, you gotta say what's the lesser of two evils, and if you could be forced by the fire chief, he wants 20 feet, and all of a sudden you look at this big monstrosity that just serves one house. And I was there the night, the neighbors didn't necessarily like it, but that's one of the things. The lesser two evils would be them giving the variance, if I was a neighbor.
Correct, absolutely.
And where we are here now, and what we've seen over between Wakefield's and up on Baker Street, these take a life of their own, and what was once something you wanted to do just becomes huge.
So
And
what would be the board's feeling now? I mean, Joe has a copy of the regulation. If he's not quoting any regulation, he's just saying, well, that's just my, like, just what I like. Then what do we do? Is it his liking is what gets done, or is it something the board goes and says, well, you know, that's not a regulation, how do we implement that?
Well, let me ask you, I know you guys have built houses, when the fire chief comes to your house and said, I'd like a smoke detector there, do you say you would like, or do I gotta put it there? No, you put it there. So, he's the end-all, that's his, I mean, we asked them for advice. It's up to them to tell us, and he's doing it based upon what he thinks is safety. I mean, how else will we
So he's,
go against it?
he's the head planner.
No, he's not the head planner.
But what you're saying is what he says goes.
Well, wait a minute, John, don't put Paul in a bad light. You have, if you built it with the cul-de-sac, there's nothing he could say.
Right.
Other than, we always have the hydrants, you've seen that enough in all your years. If you build the road, the 46 foot and the 26 and the sidewalks, usually they'll move a hydrant. They don't have to say anything else, anything else, but especially it's under 750. He's built per there and he knows that's what's in the book. But when you try to go off, that's when he can go off.
Right. I guess the only reason we came here for prelim is we can do that. It just seems, it doesn't seem like good planning. It costs the owner more money. It costs the town more money. They're gonna have to plow it. They're gonna have to pick up trash. They're gonna have to replace it someday. Or a driveway. It just seems like poor planning. It seems like a driveway is in everyone's best interest.
Okay, we've had these, we've had people build them out, but we have other people that get narrowed over the years, but that's why we've allowed these. But when we get recommendations from other departments, we gotta go by them.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, Paul's, you know, he's just been doing this for, I don't know, a year or so.
Yeah.
And he had a different take on the past one. It's just like you've been with building inspectors. One guy says this and the other guy says that. I mean,
So I guess the question the answer I'm coming away with, if Paul wants the hammerhead, the board's inclined to insist on it.
I'll speak for myself. If he says, I need that, this is what I'd like, who are we to say no? Because if something ever happens, it comes back on our butt. So it's kinda like he's working right now, you know, with Wakefield on that stuff, the same thing.
Yeah.
You're going outside it. You want a waiver. We don't have to give it to you. Let's start right there. We could just say, build it.
Okay.
But you wanna go out, so now it's almost trying to work with him. At least that's my opinion. Joe, whatever the fire department, you go with them?
I'm inclined to follow the deputy fire chief's lead. But I got another question.
No, go ahead, no.
What are the roundings going into the plan that says I can do this by right? What are the two rounding numbers?
30 and 20.
I saw the 20,
You can do 20 on an acute angle in your subdivision regs.
is that right?
Yeah, if you're at a 90-degree angle, no, but once you start getting skewed off at an angle, there is a provision that if you're at such an angle.
You can't go less than 60 degrees, and this is like probably 63 is the angle at this intersection. So yeah, it's in your subdivision regs when you have those. Because when you put the rounding on, it just ends up.
And did you see Maggie's comments dated January 11th?
Comment on a pre-then?
We always get them.
I don't know if you want to go over them, Mr. Chairman.
Or at least give me a copy would be nice.
By the way, did they pay the fee? I always want to make sure the town gets its money. Thank you.
Was it? It's expensive.
No, when you do the definitive, it gets cheaper.
It's all a total at the end.
Yeah, I know building houses nowadays, it's real tough, you know, you maybe make $3 or $4 if you're lucky, if you straighten out all the nails and stuff. That's all I ever hear.
At least 3 or 4.
Yeah, Maggie, well, she talked about the 12-foot on the waiver, right? And the turnaround, it's all got to do with Deputy Chief Paul Barry said. Correct the center line coming out to Pemberton.
Can you go over, that's about the only thing that will be, of the preliminary items that'll be, yeah, because if you line up your roadway with the other roadway, don't take it at a diagonal, you come straight out.
This is the roadway sideline right here, this angle.
Okay.
If
Oh, I see what
you
you're
go
saying,
parallel
okay, no,
to
you're right,
that,
you're right,
that's
you're
the way
right,
it
you're
lines
right,
up.
okay.
I mean, it's
I'm
just
looking at
so
the driveway,
short and
my-
stubby,
yep,
it's harder to
yep,
see.
no, you're right.
When you
Sorry,
shorten
I
that
looked
cul-de-sac
at-
up, it just gets difficult to see that angle.
Yeah.
So that is the angle, that's the bearing of the
Yep.
center line. And then I can
Correct.
push out the center cul-de-sac.
All right, and I know this is probably my vision impairment, but is the driveway the same width the whole way in?
Yes.
Okay.
It gets wider at the garage, that's it. It goes out to 2 cars.
And what would happen if it was 20 feet wide?
I'd probably try, I'm not so opposed to the 20 feet as we are the turnaround. I think we can work with the 20 feet in a sense. Maybe we make the driveway a little wider. We give some, you know, some aprons on the side. They're not necessarily paved. I think we can probably satisfy that and not make it so, you know, such a big, massive pavement. Plus, it's all that impervious area we don't need, you know, so. I mean, everything today, as we go forward, and all our subdivision regs and all the stormwater management guidelines, everything's reduce, reduce, reduce. You know, cut down impervious surface, that's what we see today, so. But you could put stone on each side, he can drive on it.
That's what Brody did for
Yeah.
Baker.
So I'm not
To
opposed to
get
that.
past the drainage.
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to that either.
No, I thought just a big hammerhead, and you know, after this meeting, we're gonna go back and revisit him, the deputy chief, I'm gonna redraw this, and we're gonna see if I can't, you know, show him the house. He did say that, when he reviewed that one, he says, you know, I look at it as a subdivision road, I don't have a house on the plan. He says, so that's the way I'm reviewing it. So maybe if we give him a turnaround at the garage or something like that, maybe I pull it down away from the garage a little bit, maybe he'd be satisfied with that, I don't know. So I am gonna go show him this with the house on it. I didn't have this plan with me Friday when I talked to him. I just asked him for a copy of the regulations he was quoting from.
A hammerhead application for Brody is a little different than a hammerhead application here. His house is on the side, yours is direct in. So I agree that a hammerhead may not be as appropriate here as
Right.
Brody's. I think for Brody's, it looks better.
So he's driving in one of the hammerheads and
Right.
going to the house.
Right, and then he has the other hammerhead, and I think that satisfied the deputy chief. I don't know how you would do a hammerhead here, and I agree that it would look awkward. What you have doesn't appear big enough, though. I don't know, that's just.
No, it doesn't. I would say it's probably not the way it's sitting. I'd
Yeah.
probably have to pull it away from the house, make it a little wider and push it out. And that, you know, that's something we could probably live with, would be a compromise with him. So I haven't touched this since I submitted it and had the conversation with him, and I do think, you know, he did say there wasn't a house shown, maybe he would look at it differently if there was a house shown on the plan.
Right, and I'm in favor of not taking this as a street. I do not wanna see it as a public way.
Yeah, I don't think it's in the best interest to be a public.
Right, it's not in the best interest of the town either.
What's that? Kate, anything else? You all set? Sarah?
Yeah, but this proposed layout, we don't have a copy of that. You said this is a new drawing with the driveway
you have
shown.
it.
I don't have
No.
that.
Yeah,
I have proposed layout, but it's got a circle.
you have 2 sheets.
You know.
This one?
Yeah, it's in your hand.
They
On the first
they
sheet.
both have, it's both drawn with
Mine's colored. This is the one
Proposed
I'm
layout.
showing. Yeah, this is that
yeah,
one.
where's this driveway?
That's, well, you know, lines, because there's so many lines, it comes out here.
Okay, that's hard to decipher.
Mine's colored.
Okay,
Yeah, let me do it for you.
okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna darken it on mine.
You guys can have the colored ones. Make the life so much easier.
There you
There you go.
go. Okay, thank you.
And you can have that one.
Is this the same?
Yeah, no, that's
Is
the
this for
second
everybody
sheet.
then?
Yeah,
Second
there's
sheet?
about 8 of them there.
Okay.
A little easier to see it with the color.
And then these are, this is one sheet.
It's the second sheet.
Yeah,
Okay.
there you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, yeah, that's
So-
all I have then, thank you.
The only other thing, Maggie's, most of her comments are telling me what they're doing a definitive.
Can I get a copy of those? That's what I have them. You have an extra one?
Rob, you wanna take this one, if you want a clean copy, I'll forward it to you. I thought I had done it already, please take that.
And the other one, the Board of Health, that the only other comment needed to go to Health, the January 16th meeting had no issues, so. I don't have any issues, we've done this before. It just comes down to, yeah, fire chief says this, the building inspector typically doesn't weigh in on these, whatever the other ones say, the safety for the roadway. I mean, typically, water and sewer's gonna get what they want anyway.
I was hoping to do, I think, Margaret, I don't know if you comment on the sewer? I was hoping to run services in from the street, not from the main. From Pembroke.
That's what I thought you would propose.
Yeah,
So,
you're fine with that one.
Because it's only gonna be 1.1, and the other one has it already.
The other one already has
Yeah,
it. So
right,
we
so he just
run-
has one.
And we actually, I think we have stubs there, don't we? There's already a sewer stub, you told me.
I believe so, yeah, because way back, they had planned on that being a lot
You
before
told me
the
that when we
zoning
were doing
change,
the
yeah.
soil test and you had found
Yeah.
it.
so based upon what you've heard, based upon you've seen the other experiences, you know what you're up against, and it's a matter of the road, okay?
Okay,
What the fire chief wants.
we'll go speak with him again before we file, I think.
Okay.
Anything else?
Color plans make a
Couldn't see
big
it.
difference?
Makes a huge
Wow. Is that more money?
You have no idea what that costs.
They save
Neither
lots
does
of
he.
money, they're asking Walpole to give their legal opinion, so they have money for colors.
That's true. Well, I remember,
You can see it better when it's color, right?
Yeah, so I'm saying you save money, you're trying to get Walpole to pay the legal opinion,
But
so
this-
now you have money for
Oh,
color
okay.
copies.
This
Okay.
right
Not
to,
saving it.
yeah, okay.
it's there,
Okay.
that side.
there you go. All right. So,
Are we voting
No, there's
tentative
not-
approval, no?
we don't have to vote anything, we just, because there's no reason for a vote. I'll make a motion that we,
No vote?
yeah, make a motion that we saw the plan. And that we
Gave
got,
some feedback?
gave it feedback. Because there's nothing to vote, I mean, they can't, it's not even, really, you think about it, it's not even a hearing. There's nothing legal about it. It's,
No, but according to our rules
usually,
and regs,
yeah,
we
we
have
have to say-
45 days to render a decision.
Well,
whether
we're
the
not
town-
held to anything anyway.
yeah.
No, it's not non-binding, that's.
Yeah, it says, yeah, it's, motion is that the applicant has
There was
We'll have to
another
straighten-
preliminary plan
straightened something
where
out.
we said
We sent them.
3-2, that
That was
disapproved.
the- Yeah, that
That was
was.
who? Oh, yeah, well, that was
Yeah,
because I didn't
so-
like his clip.
What did we sent them to fight about.
All right, but it doesn't matter. So, make a motion, we reviewed what was in front of us, and at this point seemed amenable. How's that? A second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think we should say something.
Well,
Okay.
not gonna be able to hold us to it, so,
Tentatively approve with or with modification, disapprove
yeah, we didn't
with
disapprove.
statings.
We said we're amenable, I guess. We said approve.
Tentatively approve?
What, think you're next?
I'm next on the list. I can sit down if you want.
Gotta find something else, Dan, on the list before you come.
Jack, there's the folder and the ad.
All right, with the hour being after
You want plan?
7:30, we have a
For the same.
hearing public hearing for site plan from Union Street CME LLC, case 17-5, respect the property located at 255 Union Street, East Walpole, assessors map 21, parcel 15, zoning district GR flood overlay. The applicant seeking site plan approval under section 13 of zoning bylaws to allow the increase in number of existing units to 8 within 3 existing structures along with construction of parking lot and associated stormwater management systems, and all shown on the site plan. So with that being said, the hearing, we are open, And for anybody that's first time here, the applicant will be able to, designate, will explain everything to us. I'll read any of the comments from any of the different boards that this goes to, and any comments from the board, and at the end of the hearing, anybody has any comments or questions, I'd ask you to hold them to them, and you will get a chance to speak on this, so, that being said, go ahead, Dan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Dan American with American Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. Mike Connors is the applicant. He's an East Walpole resident. He's acquired this property as an investment property. This is 255 Union Street. This is the former Foster residence, Bob Foster, which I think some of us remember. Mike's plan is the property has 3 existing structures. It has an existing house, an existing cottage, and an existing barn. So Mike's plan is to renovate those structures. Basically, take the existing multifamily use and increase the number of units on the property. So just a little kind of synopsis of where we are. We're at the end of Union Street. As we approach Route 1, the site is quite large, around 9 acres. There's a lot of wetlands on the back. Trapwell Brook runs along the westerly sideline of the property. To the east is Route 1, commercial developed area. And behind the west is existing Brook Lane to the west, and there's a neighborhood behind. The existing structures, Mr. Foster used it for multifamily housing for many, many years. Anywhere from 4 to 5 units historically, 4 in the house, 1 in the cottage. The barn historically was used as a barn and also as a consignment shop at one point for antiques. What Mike would like to do is renovate the existing house, the existing 4 units, basically just spruce up the house, spruce up those units. Renovate the existing cottage. We're gonna take a porched area and enclose that, but otherwise there's no expansion in footprint of the cottage, there's no expansion in footprint of the house. The barn has a couple of floors in it, and then there's a carport area here. There's a proposal to enclose the carport. It has a roof on it now. Build a small deck off the side, and then renovate the interior of the barn for 3 units. So we're looking at a total of 8 units, mixture of 1 and 2 bedroom units. There really is, from the exterior, there's really not going to be any substantive change. You know, the barn is going to stay the way it is now. It's sided with wide pine boards. The pine boards is basically going to stay that way. Going to have some windows added. The house is just going to get renovated on the inside, get some cleaning up on the outside. Same thing with the cottage. We are proposing that the trigger here really for site plan review is the parking lot. We're proposing that the site just now has a driveway that comes in here. And people have historically kind of parked in a cleared wooded area, gravel area over here. There's a driveway entrance right here. So we are proposing to build a 17-space parking lot in here, 2-way in out. Come in here, 17 spaces, basically at grade, plus or minus a few inches. And then adjacent to that is a shallow stormwater infiltration basin with pre-treatment, all designed in compliance with the DEP stormwater standards. We have received Maggie's comments, and we have met with Maggie. We have appeared before the Conservation Commission for our initial hearing and before the zoning board for our initial hearing. We have additional hearings with them. We've basically made most of the changes that Maggie's asked for. We're ready to submit a new plan for her consideration and the board's consideration, and we'll do so in the next couple of days after we get through this hearing and see what other comments the board might have. That's about it. The property itself is, you know, it's the developed portion of the property is right in kind of in the middle up front. So there's a heavy band of woods all around it that is going to remain. It's basically an existing buffer to the neighbors. We did have discussions at the zoning board about we're going to do this, adding some evergreen trees in through here just to provide some extra visual shielding to the residences on Brook Lane that are across Trapwell Brook. There's an existing hedgerow across the front of the property with a stone wall, so that's already screened. So there's really not, you know, Mike's intention is to basically keep the character of the site as is and clean it up, get a proper parking area, for the apartment units. And that's about it.
Can you show me again where the parking area was proposed? Is it where the existing is, you're just gonna pave it, or?
Also, there's an existing driveway here. So Mike's gonna remove the part of the driveway that's between all these structures so he can add landscaping in there and build some walkways in there. And this existing driveway will remain, and it'll basically be, you know, like a short-term access if somebody wants to bring groceries. If they live in the barn, they can pull in there and park and bring their groceries in the house and then go around to the proper parking lot. The parking lot, the main parking lot is this. And this is an area where there's an existing curb cut here, there's an existing gravel drive area, and this area is all cleared out, and people have historically parked there. Obviously haphazardly, it's not a proper parking lot, but we're basically looking to take that area and make it a proper parking lot. The bylaw calls for 2 spaces per unit, so it would be a total of 16 spaces. We have 17 proposed, 1 extra space, just to have that extra space.
Well, you already cracked the egg, so go for it.
You said 8 units, in the narrative it says
That will be correct.
7.
That will be correct.
But you're going for 8, correct?
It's 8,
Just to clarify.
yes. 3 in the barn, 4 in the house, 1 in the cottage.
All set. We set it out. Building, conservation, engineering, fire, board of health, police, sewer and water, and the zoning. Save Maggie's for a minute. From the sewer and water, the sewer and water commissioners reviewed all the available information. It was decided to invite the applicant to their 12th meeting to discuss the utilities.
Yep, we'll be there.
So it doesn't really affect us.
There's
'Cause
existing sewer and water to the house and cottage, and we'll be adding sewer and water to the barn.
Okay. January 3rd, Board of Health meeting. At their January 2nd meeting, they voted unanimously, they have no concerns, but would suggest the owner extend the sidewalk on Union Street from its current endpoint to their property line.
I don't have any idea where that is. I'll have to look at that.
There's nothing on, maybe
There's
the.
no sidewalk through there. It's on that far side of Brook Lane, I think.
It's even up farther than that.
It's probably up farther than that. That would be something that would be
Yeah, that's, yeah.
cost prohibitive, I think.
Well, not only that, but it'd be something that would be outside of this, would be a selectmen's issue.
Right.
And I do agree, they do, you know, I heard we're building sidewalks on Coney Street, aren't we?
You mean in terms where Siemens is?
Well, I heard they're gonna put
Well-
sidewalks somewhere. Where they need sidewalks is Union Street, cause everybody
the-
takes the bus.
We don't know what the design for, if you're talking about the part of Coney Street that has to do with Siemens, we don't know what that's gonna look like yet. We haven't even started the design on it. And the only other portion of Coney Street where we're gonna be building a sidewalk is to replace the sidewalk, down by approximately house number 71 and 72 with that little bridges that has that rat trap of a graded sidewalk. We're gonna kinda scoot across and go around and, to basically because of the safety issue with that.
Anybody ever asked for sidewalks on Union yet?
Not that have come to us, that doesn't mean to say they haven't, but it's not, that has been brought up to us.
But not much you can do about that, but that's, let's see, ZBA, all they said is they have it in front of you on the 24th. From the police department, dated January 24th, Luke Pollen, officer of the safety, is, he did not, the police do not have any public safety concerns. From ZBA, I just did that, second one. From the fire department, Paul Barry, deputy chief, and he's reviewed this case, and he says the applicant proposed posting no parking zone we find acceptable with following requirements: no parking signs posted, paved, poured paths to support stretches, and paths maintained year-round. A monitored fire alarm system shall be installed, but that will come whatever you guys do with the building department. You know, they do that all the time, just to give you a heads up. And fire suppression, which doesn't have anything to do with us, but it's forewarning that you may need it for whatever your project is.
Mike has met with Paul and ironed those issues out.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, he gives comments, so he gives them on everything, so, but the ones we pertain to is anything to do with the hydrants, the turnarounds, and the paving on the ground. The building is not for us. And Maggie's comments, yours were January 5th, and what you said, you've updated them since then?
Nope, that's it.
No, Rick, yeah, Rick, yeah, close.
Rick, no? Not quite.
Dan, sorry.
It's quite all right. Been happening for a long time.
I know.
He said he met with her.
I met with Maggie, so I have a full written response to all of our comments that will be coming in the next few days with a revised set of plans. There's nothing on there that's going to change the design materially. It's notes and signage and things like that. Details.
Okay. So, we revise it based upon her comments then. Okay, and we'll see that the next time. And that's all the comments. Start, Sarah, do you have any questions, issues on this?
Yeah, a couple questions. So on the wetland area,
Yep.
so on sheet 3,
Yep.
you note, is it here you note? Maybe it's on the DIS. You noted the area that was in the floodplain and also the wetland area.
Yes.
So we have something called a resource area, like a wetland resource area, like how much of the project is wetlands?
Mhm.
So, I just wanna make sure I understand, so the contiguous buildable lot area has to, you have to have at least 60% of the minimum lot area required for zoning compliance
Yep.
shall be other than the wetland area.
Yep.
That only applies to newer lots that post-date the adoption of that provision. That provision was adopted in the 80s. This lot
They make
goes back before then.
Well, but you're changing it, you're adding
change it.
units, you're adding units.
So now they
Well,
want
that,
some sort of
the provision goes to the lot, not to the use.
It's in the building.
There's language in there that says for lots created after the adoption of this bylaw. Section
Yeah.
6C something.
But this would be, well, you are changing it, but the question would be, is you're not adding any buildings, correct?
No, no new buildings.
So, nothing, the footprint itself isn't changed, you're just remodeling inside.
Yep, and we're taking areas that are.
And you're making more
covered.
units, but
Yeah, that's right.
So that doesn't apply?
I'm not too sure. How many square feet you got upland?
I gotta look, I think it's around 50,000, something like that.
50,000?
On this DIS, it says developed 46,725.
Okay, so
Okay,
46,000.
So if,
You get 10,000 square feet per unit, and that's 60%, six times
6 times 8 is 48.
48, so
on
they
the
have
edge.
46, they have less than 48, so.
How close are they?
We've discussed this with the building inspector, and he's of the view that we have ample lot area for the 8 units.
You know, it's too bad we never hear those discussions, because I've been doing this for a long time, Dan, and it's like, you know, that's the stuff we need on that, but I'm still, can you get an opinion from him, since you've already discussed it?
Sure.
Will that satisfy, Sarah? Because I'm not sure how it goes either.
Yeah, I wasn't, like, I know the lot's existing, but now you're changing it, so I wasn't actually sure if it's.
But we're not changing the lot. All we're
Well,
doing
you're-
is changing the use of the lot. So
Right.
that requirement goes to a lot created after a certain date.
Yeah.
Lots created prior to that date aren't subject to that requirement.
Okay, well, I would.
But I
like-
mean, I'll talk to Dave about it, and I'll get an opinion from him.
How we come about it.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, and then, in your quick overview, you said there's 4 units currently in the house?
Yes.
That's, so, and there's 4 proposed, so no change.
Although I will tell you, Dave's view is that it's only a legal 3-unit, but it has
Yeah, 'cause
historically
it's-
been used for 4. Mr. Foster did some things that he probably should not have done
Okay,
over the years. But he has used it historically for 4. It's cut up for 4.
uh-huh,
But Dave's view is that legally, there are 3 units in the house, and the cottage is not a legal unit. So one of the units in the house is not a legal unit, the cottage is not a legal unit. So this would basically rectify all that kind of historical inconsistency.
okay, okay. Can you just go through the 3 buildings, like the sewer and water? Which building is existing and which you're adding new?
So this is the barn.
Yeah,
This is the only one we're adding new ones to.
sewer and water.
This is the old house.
Uh-huh.
This has sewer, comes up here and goes into the house. It has water service right here.
Okay,
This is the cottage.
Yeah.
Cottage has a dedicated sewer service that comes out through here and out through this kind of gravel parking lot. and
Okay.
Right into there, and then it gets water from the house to the cottage.
from the house to the cottage,
And the
okay.
barn, we're going to propose a dedicated water line out to the main, and then we're gonna tie into the sewer service for the house, and that's pending my satisfying Maggie that that's okay, and also my meeting with Sewer and Water Commission
Okay,
in a
okay.
week and a half.
Okay. And then, so are these units gonna be, apartments or like condos?
Apartments,
Rentable apartments?
yep, 4 ones and 4 2-bedrooms, right, Mike?
5 ones.
5 ones and 3 2-bedrooms.
Okay. Okay. So, just a question, do you have to go through like the historical commission or any like
No, that kicks
historical
in for
implications?
demolition, and we're not proposing to demolish.
Okay.
You know, Walpole has a demolition delay bylaw, basically, but we're proposing to reuse all the structures, so there's no demolition of structures proposed.
Okay. Okay. And do you have like an approximate square footage of like each unit?
Let me
It probably
see.
varies, but I mean,
Give me a second. I don't have that off the top of my head. You gotta give me a range, Mike?
I would say, the 1 beds are 500, 2 beds are maybe 800, barn would be a little bigger.
okay. So are you gonna put a sign, like for the new parking lot? Is there gonna be any signage saying, you know, parking lot this way or parking here or?
We wouldn't normally do that. We could. I mean, the people who live there are gonna obviously know where the parking lot is.
But the visitors may be
If I put
not,
I could put a sign that says 255 Union, which is the address.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah, we could
I'm
do
not,
that
I'm not saying whether
at the
you
parking
have
lot
to or not, I'm
entrance.
just curious. I mean, if I were visiting this place, I would be like wondering where the, you see that driveway, but it's not really for parking. I don't know, I just think it would be
We could put a
helpful
255
maybe?
Union
I don't
sign
know.
at the main driveway. We could do that.
I don't know if that's
The exi-
allowed, not allowed, but,
The
hmm?
existing driveway would stay, and there'll be signage that says,
No parking.
30-minute parking,
Okay,
so.
like from the street or somebody's gonna pull in and they'll be like,
someone
oh,
would have to
darn it.
pull in and then they'll see the sign.
Yeah, okay. I don't know, just ease of use, I would think it would be nice.
Yeah, we'll come up with something for that.
And, so you said landscaped area in front of the parking lot.
Yes.
Is it,
In
like
here.
what, do you have a height idea on, are you looking to like screen the parking lot or is it just gonna be like some bushes?
This is what's there today, just so you know.
Yeah,
There's a hedgerow there,
okay,
so
so not too different than
we're not
that is
gonna
what
take
you're.
that away.
Okay.
You see that, Joe?
Nice, I know the property.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Joe?
Trash, snow, where is that gonna?
We have snow storage shown, it's gonna be in here. Trash, I have to reach out to the Board of Health, I'm not sure what their practice is with an apartment unit like this. I have to find out, and, if they don't collect, then I'll put a dumpster.
Over 3 families, you gotta do it.
Is that right?
I went through it myself.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
It's over.
You
So,
don't have a,
we're gonna add provisions for that.
you
That's
can
one
have
of
to add
Maggie's
a
comments.
dumpster. And recycling,
Yeah.
lighting,
Minimal. Mike's plan is just to basically put some, you know, residential style lantern posts in a couple places around the parking lot. No-
And walkways.
No commercial, yeah, no commercial
Right.
lighting.
That's- how does, this may be a little bit off, but how is I&I and hookup fees handled in this situation?
Well, they're expensive.
Plus
So
you-
Mike will, I believe, Mike will
Got the
get,
issue too of,
Mike will get assessed for the new units.
okay, and it's debatable as to what is,
Yeah, I'm not sure what
In
sewer and water will
existence.
say about that, correct. I
so
don't.
that's gonna be brought up at sewer and water when you meet with them.
Well, basically, when Mike goes for building permit for the new units, that's when they would assess those fees for water and sewer connections. So that's when they would give him the bill, and they would, I have not talked to Rick about how they will assess those fees for this.
Okay, but there's a difference in what's legal now and what's new.
Well, there's zoning legal, and then, there's what the property's been used for historically. So I don't know what sewer and water's position will be on that take. I only know that Dave says it's, from a zoning standpoint, it's a legal 3. Historically been used for up to 5. So I don't know what sewer and water will start with either 3 or 5 or 4. They'll start somewhere there and end up at 8, and whatever that delta is will be the fee.
No, I watched the other meetings on cable, and a lot of this is handled, and you're gonna be updating it anyhow, so
Yes.
right now, I don't have any further questions. Thank you.
Okay. I have a couple. I know it's over 3, I had to check it for myself, Dan, and being
Try it.
being a landlord myself, and with this number of units, I'd put a dumpster there.
Yeah, we'll add dumpster.
Because I can see you going by and there'd be 8 barrels all over Union Street and you'd be picking up trash. I know the house isn't in the floodplain. How much of this is any of the parking lot in the floodplain? Nothing?
It's all around.
Yeah, I saw that and I figured Foster must have beat FEMA to death trying to get that because it's an island in the middle of Trap Hole Brook.
Well, no, actually, if you.
I know it's elevated.
We did do duplexes across the street, and Mr. Foster took us to court on that and fought ferociously against that
Oh, yeah.
project. So we have a lot of historical information, and you go back to the 50s, during that big flood, this was an island of upland, and there,
I know, you showed us
Union Street's
pictures.
flooded, everything around it's flooded, but the developed portion of this site
Okay.
was not.
I know that from seeing, I know I'm more than familiar with the elevations, but everything makes it. When I open up the FEMA map, I go, whoa.
Yeah, it's all around it.
Well, he was known to be persuasive, so to speak. Yeah. Now he had a sewer come in. Where did it come in?
Well, he had the sewer for the house, the card goes back to the 60s.
Yeah, but didn't he have one put in like in the last 10
The sewer for the
years?
cottage, the card is in the 90s.
Yeah, that's when he came
94
down
or
through
something.
town hall beating everybody up saying he wants an emergency hookup. So he didn't have to go through all the wetland stuff. I remember that, but,
I don't know, there's a sewer line
okay, that's the one.
for the cottage that comes off here and goes right through here.
All right, that's the one then, okay. Because I knew he had it hooked up and he, what was good for him wasn't good for the rest of us, I guess. Now, the biggest question I had was on, like I said, the floodplain, it is all within it, so, okay.
I just have one thing to add, a little story. Back when I was on the Finance Committee, Mr. Foster invited me down to his house, and Carol Lane accompanied me. She was a member of the Finance Committee. Also, he wanted to make some type of, or produce some type of evidence regarding an article that was on the warrant at the time. And we got a tour of the entire property, including the barn, with water swirling into the barn out of Trap Hole Brook around some concrete thing that he had built, and I mean swirling.
Yeah, just so you know, he dug a pond here.
River runs
That
through
was
it.
not there. He built a concrete diversion structure with batter boards in it to fill the pond. And then there is a pipe coming out of the pond that goes through a concrete channel through the basement of the barn. So
Right.
during certain flow conditions, there is a stream flowing through the barn. Now, we are going to conservation to discontinue that man-made little intermittent stream, and they seem agreeable to that. So that's gonna go away.
So nobody's really interested in the fact that he was producing hydroelectric power at the time.
No, I was more interested in the fact that what he did was all illegal, and Leroy Jones told me he dug it for him. here's the guy that was Mr. Conservation and Mr.
The
Flood.
pile of dirt's right here. The
What?
pile of dirt's right at the back of the pond.
Yeah, and this is what you get, is do as I say, not as I do, and he did everything illegally, and Leroy said he put it under the barn. And he still never understood why, you know, here's a guy, Mr. Conservation, and did that. So it is under there. Someone told me it wasn't, but at least you told me it's still there.
It is, yeah, there's a, you know, there, in the slab of the concrete basement, barn floor, there's a trough. And, you know, when this pond gets up to a certain elevation, it goes through this 12-inch pipe, there's a little stone and concrete channel here, and then it goes through the trough, an open trough in the basement of the barn.
Right.
Never seen anything like it.
It's
And out the other
amazing.
side?
It was amazing.
It's, the
Inside,
barn
yeah.
is
Does it go out
very
the other
cool.
side?
It pops through a pipe on the other side and goes into this little ditch.
Huh.
The barn itself is really neat inside. You know, he redid the whole thing, I guess, in the 70s, and it's got all these terraces and balconies, and it's a pretty neat structure. It's old, it's an old structure.
I would not want water running through my basement with every little frog,
That's
turtle,
the first thing Mike said
snake.
to me when he came to me.
Mosquitoes.
I gotta get rid of this stream.
Yeah.
Most people try to keep water out of there.
Yeah,
Stand by-
exactly.
Use it as your sewer, cut down your I&I fees. I don't have any other questions or comments. Anybody in the audience? Come on, sir, if you want to come up to the, because we're on TV, so if you have your name and address,
Up to the podium here.
unless you got a mic. No. Oh, he's already.
My name is Larry Parenti, and live 5 Puritan Place, right abut, flooding the property, the water area in particular. Been there since 1962. I've had a chance to look at the drawing. Glad to hear they're not gonna disturb the wetlands. It's been there ever since I've been there. But I am concerned with this rerouting of the water. How's it gonna get by the buildings and so forth without making it worse in the wetlands? That's my big concern. Other than that, I have no problems with the project.
Okay, just so you understand how the procedure goes, we don't do the water, the wetlands, that would be the conservation. Have you been in front of them yet?
Oh yeah, but I can explain it. Basically, the little pond here is just an offshoot. There's a stream channel. You have Chapel Brook proper runs through there. There's a little, it looks man-made stream channel that goes through here, and then there's flow diverted from that. So basically, the flow is just gonna continue through this stream channel. This is just a little aesthetic thing that Mr. Foster did.
This channel is big enough to...
Oh yeah, yeah. This channel out here is this wide, and Trap Hole Brook is.
In the wetlands, you're not doing anything in the wetlands.
No, no.
That's my big...
Okay.
Cheryl Hazelmont, Phil Brook Lane. So I've actually been at Conservation, ZBA, and now planning for this project, in part because it was my Christmas gift this year when I get my notifications in the mail that someone had bought the property. And of course, I'm probably thinking very negatively, but I'm like, great, we have 30 more condos going into the other side of me. So when I actually found out that Mike had bought the property, like my first 3 questions were, what are you building back there? What are you doing with the water? And don't touch the trees. So he actually assured me that there is no additional water going into the brook, which was clearly my concern. My property abuts his property, and Trapo Brook runs between our properties. Mr. Foster used to make a spring visit over to my side of the brook and dam the brook, which would flood my neighbor. So what would happen is once my neighbor flooded, then we would have to go into the brook and knock down his dam so that the water would flow through Trapo Brook appropriately. And at least one time the police were called when he went over to my neighbor's house and told them not to do that. So needless to say, the fact that no one's gonna be damming the brook and causing me to have flooding issues, you know, is a blessing. The fact that he's not cutting down one tree and he's gonna leave all the blades of grass, and he's gonna leave the wetlands alone, are a wonderful thing. So, the other neighbors and myself on Brook Lane have been talking. So as far as we're concerned, we're very supportive of his project. We think to actually not tear down buildings and refurbish things and just make minor improvements, you know, is what we would like to see. It would actually be nice to see more of that and less condominiums. But going back to why we're actually here at site plan, I've been coming to meetings for a year and I probably spent more time in town hall than I really wanted to. But I guess I'm confused because I look at what Mike is doing as something that's almost very simplistic. You're not really changing like footprints, you're not building additional units. You know, you're keeping a lot of things the same and improving it, and hopefully like no water. But yet, we've had other projects in this town recently, which are large projects, which have had to come to site plan review, like one being McSherry. Then we had Wall Street, near and dear to my heart, because I know Lou's watching, which didn't go for site plan approval, but it is multiple buildings. They might be single-family condominiums, but there were multiple buildings on a lot of land. And now we have Mike, who has multiple units on a lot of land, and he's forced to come to site plan. And it's not your call, I get that, but it seems to be one person's call. And I just feel that there's like some inconsistencies with how those things are determined. Because even some of the questions you asked, Sarah, you know, like really great questions, and I'm like, but this is like a small project, and I'm like, questions like that couldn't be asked for other projects that to me were like much more invasive, larger in scale, and it was all because of how someone determines something. So that as a resident is concerning to me. And also how, with the special permit, because there is the moratorium, and how does that affect like this particular project, shall we say?
Site plan versus 6C4A, I mean, it's two different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what I think, well, I know what you're saying is, it was already determined that Petrosi didn't need site plan, and this is more than one building. Why wouldn't this have fallen under 6C? And actually, it's in front of zoning under
5B, yeah.
which Petrosi didn't have to do.
Right.
So I guess your question, Cheryl, is very simple, is what's different from this than that? You as a resident don't know who's on first on this.
Right, and I just think, again, I've spent way too much time here. But I just see these inconsistencies. And, you know, I'm like, it doesn't make sense. And maybe it's a larger issue than your board. But who does it get brought to and where does it get brought to so that other residents don't have, like, the past experience that we've had? And we will probably continue to have, because that's not gonna go away. And where do you get that direction? And as residents, like, where do you fight for that direction?
Town meeting?
No, I mean, I know what you're saying, being involved in one, and then this one is, for Petrosi, you got this set of rules, and it falls on the same thing, and for this one, it's a whole nother set of rules. But you brought something else up that I didn't even think of. We have a moratorium on section 6, which is multiple buildings on a lot. So, I don't know. Ask Mr. American, do you know how this all come about?
The permitting aspect of it?
But how did, okay, well, you have a site plan, and it just isn't for the parking lot, it's for the whole deal.
The parking lot triggered the site plan review.
I understand.
Right,
but
so yes, you get to look at the whole thing, but the parking lot triggered it.
Triggered it, but understood, but what happens in the past, like you go to start the history, Eastover.
Yep.
Under section 6C, everything is handled by the zoning board. Didn't even go to section 5. Okay, then we had McSherry down on Pleasant Street. You weren't involved in that, right?
No.
No. That was they went to site plan, they went to, special permit for section 5, and then section 6. And then we had Burns Ave with Petrosi, which started out site plan, and the building inspector said, you don't need it, and all you have to do is be under section 6. And these are all multiple buildings within the same general residence. And now we have this one, we kind of go back again, we gotta do site plan, and then we have to do section 5, in section 5. But what is missing on this particular one is that section 6 is on a moratorium until June, or we change the bylaw in May. So that's kind of, I think, what Cheryl's saying.
I'm
And
really,
Well,
I'm not trying to muck
and
up the
I think you could
lines
throw a
for
rock
you.
at all these 3 projects, because you're right there, right?
Right, you know, so it's
Do you
kind
have
of
any
like,
idea?
they're like literally it all, you know, I can point my fingers and I have one on like every side of me. And I don't wanna muck the waters up for Mike. I want Mike to get what he needs because I really think it's a good project. But then when you just start to look at inconsistencies, and again, going back to the questions that you were asking, I'm like, that should be asked of everybody who like wants to make changes.
Dan, I know the history you don't necessarily know about it. If you know specifically why, if you could tell us, but if you don't, then we'll have to find out for ourselves.
I don't. I know we're here because of the parking lot. That triggered this review. We are discussing the 6C issues with the zoning board, and that's a topic of conversation about the moratorium, but we're not proposing any new structures. They're all existing. I don't know how that's gonna shake out.
Right, I mean.
But whether, but see, once again, with existing, I went through the same thing in my own house on Pleasant Street, and believe me, that was not a fun time, and I had a lot of people on this board that didn't like me at the time, and I had spent a lot of money for it, and I am a little pissed about that. But the fact, I didn't even change anything. And it went through, but on this, it doesn't say whether existing or not, you are adding to it. So the inconsistencies, and I can understand Cheryl, it's like, who's on first? But you can't file under section 6, right? Is that true?
We did not file a section 6C to a special permit, whatever it is, because of the moratorium.
Okay, so did they say you had to come back after it's over?
We're still discussing that with them.
Oh,
So
okay.
worst case scenario here, I guess, is that, you know, we have to reapply maybe for the barn at a later date.
So you don't- okay.
After the moratorium lapses, but that won't change this, because we're here to build a 17-space parking lot.
Yeah, but no, it's also a site.
But there may be something new that happens at Springtown meeting,
There may be.
so
But
Are there any plans? Because I would like to know.
No, but
there are plans.
but you have existing buildings, but you have now changed the buildings to go to 8, so everybody says it's, well, I didn't change the lane, you're changing it, so that would trigger, and especially double it up. But nothing, I just don't understand, nothing to do with you guys.
I go to the building inspector, we
I know.
talk about it, he says, I think you need this, this, and this. Sometimes I argue with him a little bit, but, you know, I do what he tells me to do.
If you guys line up outside that door, you went in, and Phil Mackey went in for McSherry, and Lou Petrosi went in for this, and then Hassnager went in for his, all for the same thing. Oh, I got this, oh, I got this, I got this. You'd think you'd have to say.
And not for nothing, but I'm sitting here as like a resident, and I'm going, here's the little guy, right? One of me, who literally just wants to take something, invest it, like improve it, you know, make it good. And I'm like, he'll end up having to go through more steps and jump through more hoops than a developer.
We'll try to find out something for you, Cheryl. The only thing, and for you guys, is what's odd about it is, why would you be in section 5 when section 6 has been, does that gain you anything? I don't know.
What do you mean?
Well, since you got the moratorium, I mean, with Petrosi's development and Hassanager's, they went right to section 6, so they didn't need 5 at all. That's what's kind of weird about this one.
What was their application under section 6?
You go under their multiple buildings on a lot, which this is.
Yeah.
But section 6, you don't go back up to 5. Oh, wait a minute, did you?
He's not building any buildings.
But that doesn't matter, you're converting, so it would be like the Walpole Mall trying to do something. Everybody says, well, it's existing, but no, that's why we have site plan, because you're changing what's there. But I guess, Rick, were you, oh yeah, Rick.
And a lot of the
Sorry,
time,
Dan.
like-
I gotta start wearing a label.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to make it like legal. not
Yeah,
for
no, there
nothing,
was
because,
something,
again,
I wanted to ask if you were involved in
I'm
it,
getting
something
all my
similar
people.
to this, but.
Gloucester had like illegal,
Well,
like,
I don't wanna-
living there. And I'm kinda like, he's
I guess-
making it legal.
I guess we can't answer it now because he took his instructions from what's there, but, you know, that's the zoning boards, I don't need to necessarily get into it, so.
So when I come back to the next meeting, 'cause,
Yeah, maybe we'll have something.
Okay,
Joe, file something on yours and see if you can get something, you'll be the fifth way.
absolutely. But again, like, I'm not trying, I don't, I want Mike to get this project, like, I think
Okay.
it's good. The neighbors, on Brook Lane support him, so I don't want kind of like my issues to get clouded up into his projects,
Yeah, so
okay?
it doesn't hurt to
And
have.
just for the record, there are some trees coming down, so.
But you're not taking, you know, what, 9 acres worth
No,
down?
no, no, I
You're
just-
taking, like,
I don't wanna misrepresent anything.
no, but he has my phone number and he's gonna call me and it's all gonna be good. So, like, that's okay. And then you're gonna put some up for the neighbors where the parking lot is. So again, like, you're doing the right things.
Okay, with no one else here, and you're gonna get more stuff to us, so I know you're not gonna make the next the February 15th, the 16th meeting, the 15th. So, you tell me, Dan,
I'm gonna have the stuff in by Monday or Tuesday, so.
is this, now, you need to
Talk to
wait
the
for
building
Concom, is anything gonna change for that?
I've already been to Concom and zoning, I have everything to make these plans final.
Alright, so you've coordinated, so, okay. So you've taken not only Maggie's, but everyone else's comments?
Yep.
Okay. When, so the best we could do, Kate, is when? March 1st?
Nichols Pond is at 7:30 on December.
What's, 7:30 is Nichols, and what's the next one? Nothing? Alright,
I think to answer your question about the moratorium, he is under 5B, 3, D, subsection 4. If there is to be more than one principal building on a lot, there shall be a minimum of 10,000 square feet of lot area per dwelling unit,
Yeah.
regardless of how many buildings are on the lot or how many units are in a building. So this section is not under the moratorium. That's the only thing I can think.
but it's the fact that we're doing a site plan for this, I'm not sure, but, March 1st? Oh, how are we for time, Kate?
Extension.
We need an extension?
Through,
Just the end of March, just to.
yep, we'll grant an extension through the end of March for the board to act.
Okay, I'll make a motion to allow the applicant to extend up through March 31st, 2018. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? March 1st at 7:31.
Why don't you put him ahead of Nichols, 7:25?
Well, you don't want to sit here and listen to David Wakefield?
Who's ahead of me?
Wakey.
No.
So what are you gonna do for us, Dan?
What do you want?
What are you gonna do for us? It's either sit here for, you
We
know,
want something
your
from
hearing
the
or sit
building
here for 3
inspector.
hours. We'll give it 7:29.
Do they pay their fee already?
7:29.
Twice,
I paid twice, oh, good.
7:29.
Yep.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. Thank you for your time, have a good night.
Okay, night.
Jeff, do I have to do anything on those questions? What do you?
You do, on what?
Those questions on the moratorium.
No, I'll ask if, yeah. I know you're not in tomorrow.
And just so you know, on the prior one, building inspector's view is that corner lots require 2 front yards. Bylaw is contradictory. In 4 places it says you only need 1, and in 1 place it says you need 2. So Dave is up to view, you need 2 front yards on a corner lot.
2 front and no rear?
Do I know where?
No,
rear.
two fronts required and no rear
No, there's a rear.
with a setback requirement.
Basically, when you rewrote the bylaw, they inserted a definition that changed the corner lot. You know, there are 4 other places in the bylaw where it says the old way, which
Yeah.
is 1 front, 1 side.
No.
And when the consultant rewrote the bylaw, they popped a definition in the definition section that contradicts everything else. So, you know, it's up to the building inspector to decide which one is right. Dave's view is you need 2 front yards on a corner lot, and then you would have a rear yard across from, I think it goes by the street address.
Would that apply to Broly?
It's Pemberton.
Good,
No, cause they're, yeah, it could.
same thing as it would be.
But what they're doing is they're gonna put their front yard right on the new street. They've already said that, and they meet all the current zoning.
Both are on
Have a good night.
Baker.
Night.
Thank you, good night.
Well, right now, they comply to either way, but
Mhm.
because it's a subdivision, he has to put it on the other one, so. Yeah, they did, they must have met that. I think that was all we had. Make a motion to kill the TV,
Adjourn, second.
adjourn. Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right,